Hey, this is Anthony from This Wildlife, and you're listening to Breakdowns for Breakfast podcast.
Good morning. Welcome back to another episode of Breakdowns for Breakfast. I am your host, Danger, and joining me is Monster. Say hi, Monster.
Hi, good morning. I am doing very well. How are you?
But see, I didn't ask you. You just offered information.
Yeah, I figured I'd skip that step.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm fine. All right, good. So on this episode of Breakdowns for Breakfast, we're going to be talking about the album Testify from the band POD. And this album was originally set to release December 2005, but then it was delayed until January 24th, 2006. Do you have any idea why it was delayed?
No.
I don't. It wasn't like
not a clue.
Okay. All right, cool. I didn't know if there was something behind that. So, all right. Now, this is an episode that has a connection to a previous episode that we did. We did an episode before on a Living Sacrifice album. And this album is one of two of POD's albums where their guitar player was not with them, but Jason Truby of Living Sacrifice was with them. Now, Monster, why did you bring this album to the breakfast table?
So anybody following the show knows we've been going through some technical difficulties and stuff. But when I originally suggested we do this album, it was because POD just released their brand new album. I think it's called Veritas or something like that. And it kind of got me thinking back to some of the like previous POD records over the years. Obviously, Christian new metal, rap metal, of course, I'm going to be pretty into it. POD's always been a little hit or miss for me, but I do think I like the Jason Truby era of POD better than just about anything else. I think it's kind of unarguable to say that Southtown, Satellite, that was sort of the peak of POD. But after that, they sort of fell off. I think at least Payable on Death, the album that came out before this, and this one are at least kind of interesting.
Okay, so on the Jason Truby era of POD, I felt like he was only on two albums, and I feel like that first album was him kind of showing that he could do what they do. I feel like on this album, he had a few places where he was really able to show what he could do and actually kind of bring the thrash metal influence into things. And I like where he does that on this album. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put up front. So I was a huge POD fan at one point. I've seen POD multiple times. So I was a fan all before this album. You said a long time ago that you were going to find a new metal album that was going to win me over. You have said that on multiple occasions this show in different ways. Yeah. And I'm going to go and tell you, this ain't it.
Oh, shoot. Well, that's fine because it's not one of my favorites either. But I do have some interesting things to say about it, which is why I wanted to talk about it.
Okay.
Now, I've brought this up on previous episodes, but I'll bring it up again here because it's applicable. Just like you, I've seen POD twice. I actually met them when I was a lot younger, when they were on the Kings of the Game tour in 2000.
That was with your boys Head PE and Linkin Park and all, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so the opener was Linkin Park. They played like 20 minutes. And then Project 86. Head PE. We raise hell, bitch! We raise hell, bitch! We raise hell, bitch! Motherfucking hell, bitch! We don't give. And earlier in the day,
that lineup sounds about right for popularity at the time. Yeah.
For 2000, yeah. So a couple hours before the show, this was at the Ritz in Raleigh, which is, for nobody that lives in North Carolina, it's a maybe 1,000, maybe 2,000 capacity, something like that.
It's a mid-sized venue, so.
Yeah. So a couple hours before the show, POD and Linkin Park were doing a signing, and I got to meet them. Linkin Park, because nobody had heard of them except for me, were super sweet, and they were excited. They were like, oh my God, this kid knows who we are, and wanted to hang out and take pictures, and they were great. POD acted like they did not want to be there. They were like bored. They were pissed off. I have a picture of me literally standing behind them, looking at the camera, smiling, and all four of them are looking down, signing their name.
Mm-hmm. That's about right from what I got from them every time I saw them.
Yeah. So that sort of kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit, but, you know, still went to the show. Clearly, Linkin Park as the first band was untouchable. Project 86 is pretty weird, so they were fun.
I've always liked Project 86, so
especially this Project 86, like early Project 86. Yeah. They were super weird.
98 to 2002 was a great Project 86 era. So
same with Head PE. This was when Broke was hitting and Bartender was on the radio, and they were phenomenal. And that's kind of where I fell in love with them. Anyway, I say all that to say it's very funny that was in 2000. And then in 2003, I saw POD again when Linkin Park was on the Meteora tour. And this was at the Greensboro Coliseum, which holds like 20,000 people.
Right.
And the openers were Story of the Year.
Until the day I die.
Hoobastank. Then POD, and then Linkin Park. And POD was fine. Linkin Park crushed it. Story of the Year is, again, 2003, 2004. Story of the Year is doing backflips off their amps. I mean, they were insane. So I thought it was cool that Linkin Park like took them on the road. Like basically, you know, hey, you guys threw us a bone. We're going to give one back to you. And that was really nice.
Yeah.
But I'm also thankful that 2003, that was right after Jason Truby joined the band. So I got to see them with Marcos and Truby.
I never saw them with Truby. I only saw them with Marcos. And the thing was, I was buying tickets to see them before Truby joined the band. I just was still kind of listening to them up until this album. And I'm going to be honest with you, like I said before, where Truby does his thing, I think those are really good places.
Mm-hmm.
The part about it that hurt this album to me is I feel like this album has a lot more straightforward, just full-on reggae moments, and that hurts it to me. Because while I feel like this is where, you know, Testify and some places, POD just returns to their straight-up nu metal roots. In other places, they return to their, full-on reggae roots, I guess, which I don't know if you could say full-on reggae roots, you know, being from Southern California or whatever. I don't know. It felt very fake to me. And that's one of the things. I haven't listened to POD in a long time, but that's one of the things that I had trouble with on this one is that it felt very forced.
So I kind of feel like Jason Truby is kind of being pulled in a couple different directions.
I'm going to agree with you fully on that statement.
Yeah, because I feel like obviously neither one of these POD albums sound anything like Living Sacrifice. He was not throwing down those kind of riffs.
No, except for one place here.
There's some heavy stuff. There is some heavy stuff going on a couple of these songs, but Marcos had a very distinct sound.
Yeah.
And I always liked his style. I feel like Truby's trying to balance the way he plays while keeping some of that Marcos vibe. Yeah. And sometimes it works and sometimes it gets a little off. But the other thing I'll say is and I mentioned this in my closing statements, if you know POD from the radio and you know like Youth of a Nation and Satellite and Boom, that kind of stuff, you might be surprised if you actually listen to a record because they have straight ahead rippers, like that's normal, but like Fundamental Elements of Southtown, the album that came out right before Satellite, it's been forever, but I want to say it's like 16 tracks and like over an hour long because there's all these like interludes and all kinds of these like 45-second tracks and then like 2-minute instrumentals and stuff. And then not the album right after this one, but a couple years after this one, they did one called The Awakening, which is like a full-on concept record with all these weird like sound bites between every song with like newscasters and Barack Obama's talking. And it's like, these dudes have always been weird and they've always thrown a lot of shit out there. So I don't mind when they get into the reggae and they get into the weird mixing of styles a little bit. It's just, do they pull it off very well?
No.
That's debatable, I guess.
No, and okay, so I'm familiar with POD being weird because now before Fundamental Elements of Southtown, they had the Southtown EP, which I have that one. And that was actually when I found them.
Have you heard like the old stuff, Snuff the Punk?
I was getting ready to say, and then I went and I got Snuff the Punk. So I have that album, and then I've got a live album they put out between Brown and Snuff the Punk. So, or I don't know which one came first, but yeah. So I'm familiar with POD getting weird.
Yeah,
but it's like they've always had. Again, I'm going to agree with you. They've always had those weird interludes and things, and yeah, that's fine. I get it. That's cool. But a little interlude of something for, let's say, a minute and a half, fine. But when you give me a full fleshed out song of what could have just been an interlude, nah, I don't want that. You know, I feel like there's a few really strong places on this album. I don't think that there's a few really strong tracks on this album. I feel like there's a few really strong places. And then I feel like there's a good amount that just plain out hurts it because they try to take one of those interludes and stretch it into a full song. And I think that's where the reggae comes in, because before it was like we would get touches of reggae, but now they're like, we're going to do a full-on reggae song, and I don't like it.
Yeah, and I think having Modest Yahoo on your reggae song
twice
kind of gives it.
Twice? You've got a feature of somebody twice on an album? Nah.
Well, he's not the only guy that's featured twice on here. So
who else was?
Homeboy from Booyah Tribe, but we'll get there.
I only found him on one track. So yeah,
he sneaks in on another. But
well, that doesn't speak good for them. So
no, it doesn't. That guy is strange. But anyway, having Modest Yahoo on your reggae song doesn't hurt, because that does add a little bit of validity. The problem is, and we'll get there, it's this near the back half of the record. The problem is on that song, Modest Yahoo acts like he doesn't have anything to do. It's almost like he was just in the studio and Sonny was like, hey, we got this reggae jam. Do you want to come in? And he's like, yeah, man, and just does that for 5 minutes, which is
he just makes reggae noise, basically.
Because the other song he's featured on, which we'll get to a lot sooner, I feel like he had a purpose. I love the vibe of that one. But the one other thing I'll say, sweeping statement, and I'm not a scholar on POD. I know their first, up until this record, the ones that came before it and this one, I know them very well. After that, I'm sort of hit or miss, and I've heard some, but I don't know. They seem to suffer from a track order problem.
Yeah.
Because so the other day we were driving back from the beach and Mrs. Monster put on Satellite, and the first 5 or 6 songs are fantastic.
They're all
every single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think 4 of them were on the radio, and then the other 2 were just as strong. And then I don't know what's going on the back half. They've got a feature by a guy named Ika Mouse, who is a giant black guy who sings in the highest falsetto you ever heard.
Yep.
They've got all kinds of these weird sounds and stuff. I don't know. And it feels like if you spread out your bangers just a little bit more, maybe we'll listen to more than the first 5 or 6 songs.
I feel like with Satellite was a industry move all around. And I remember exactly what you're talking about. And I haven't listened to Satellite in forever. I've got that one upstairs. The beginning of that album is strong. The first, I would say 6 tracks of that album are strong.
Yeah. Yeah.
6 is not as strong as that first 5, but I think it still is up there. And I remember after 6 going, what happened? Who changed the music?
Yeah.
I don't like this.
And I won't say that this is as drastic, but I will say that in my opinion, the front half is way stronger than the back half.
What's strange about this is I will say the first half, I will say the first part of this album has some good stuff in it. The middle suffers greatly. The back part has some really good stuff in it.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. The track order on this one's a little better, but there are a couple things I feel like they could have moved around to give it a little better flow. One more thing I wanted to say about Marcos and Jason Truby. Did you see the quotes about Marcos leaving the band and stuff?
So I kind of was aware of that when it was happening, and I did some looking into it before we jumped into this, just because I was a little curious to kind of, see what's happened since I looked at it so many years ago. And I remember there's a whole thing about Marcos was pretty much fired by the band's management, and he got pissed off about that because the guys didn't even call him. And then Jason Truby was hired almost the same day. And then Marcos got pissed off about it because he was like, it's like this was planned, which I don't know if it actually was. But then it was almost like they left Atlantic, and then like 2 days later, they brought Marcos back. So I'm wondering how much of it was a label thing.
Yeah, so let me just read these two little blurbs from the Wikipedia page, because I thought this was very interesting, especially because Marcos came back.
Yeah.
So the quote, it's exactly like what you said. Marcos got really pissed off. According to what he said, was he had basically been working on some other projects. The other guys were cool with it. Everybody was in good spirits. And then he got a call from their manager saying, hey, man, we're kicking you out. Not from his band brothers, but the manager. And so Marco's quote was, as soon as I was out, they started talking stuff behind my back. He said, it's very, very shady. I have friends defending me on the website, and every time they put something up in defense of me, it gets deleted. I'm like, what? That is not fair, dude. Then I found out they had another guitar player already. I was like, whoa, they've been plotting this for a long time. So then on December 30th in 2006, just months after POD left Atlantic Records, and on the same day his replacement Jason Truby left the band, Marcos was asked to rejoin POD. Now, the interesting thing there is I've seen some things say POD asked Marcos to come back, and I think it was Sonny was quoted as basically saying it was all a God thing because the day Truby said he was quitting, Marcos called and asked if he could come back. So, who knows there?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that if it's even talked about, 20 years from now, it's still going to be one of those, well, he said, she said, they said, we said, goo goo goo. But
I don't, and maybe I'm crazy, but Fair enough. But when it comes to new metal, I know what I'm talking about, okay?
I'm not going to say you don't know about 98, 2002.
It's a blessing and a curse because no one gives a shit other than me. There's dozens of us. But I don't hear like this major shift. Like when Head left Korn, I feel like you can hear a difference in those records with Korn, with Head versus without Head. Same as the Limp Bizkit thing. The one album without Wes feels like a different project altogether.
Which we covered earlier on the show.
And if you'd like to know more, listen to our episode on Results May Vary by Limp Bizkit. So it's just interesting to me that these guys are very different guitar players, but in the context of POD, they don't sound all that dissimilar.
No, they don't. And I think it's because Jason Truby was, like you were saying before, being pulled in different directions. There is one place that is like almost a shining Jason Truby moment on this album. And I think it may be the shortest track on this album and probably my favorite on this album. So,
but I'll also say, I feel like Truby is trying a little too hard on a couple parts on this album. There's a couple parts.
He may be like, hey guys, I finally made it to Atlantic Records.
That's true. But like, especially through headphones, and I'll bring this up on a couple of these tracks. Sometimes there's like 4 or 5 different guitar layers happening. Yeah. And usually 1 or 2 of them should just not be in there.
Yeah, not going to disagree with you.
As much as I love Truby. And I also honestly think like, okay, so I've played in metal bands, I played in country bands, I play with hip hop artists, and I always enjoy the challenge of trying to be me, but shift it just enough to fit whatever project I'm working on. So I feel that's what Truby's doing here. And 9 times out of 10, it works. But just every once in a while, it gets a little uncomfortable.
You want to know how to be monster and then sometimes monster and then monster and yeah.
Easy with the hard R.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, track 1, Roots in Stereo featuring Modest Yahoo.
By original roots in stereo. So rap the streets you ride on. Shine them down with that rude boy sound. And watch the whole world light up. We can arouse in the streets they know.
All right, I felt like this was a decent opener, but also at the same time, for you to throw a featuring as your first track on an album, let me know that they knew that this album was probably not the best that they could put out.
Okay, so I see what you're saying, but I mostly disagree because I think this is a killer opening song. This is one of my probably top 10 POD songs of all time. I think this song goes hard. Every time I hear it, I can just see Sonny and Modest Yahoo in the studio together, bouncing around the room, having a great time. And I feel like that transcends the speakers. And this is just a bomb ass track. I love this song.
I don't have an issue with this song at all. I just feel like putting that featuring as track 1 was kind of a scream for help almost. I don't know. It seemed like it was like they knew that this album wasn't going to be what ones were previously.
On their new album, the first song features Randy Blythe from Lamb of God.
Okay. But see, I feel like Randy Blythe has a stronger presence than Modest Yahoo. I feel like Modest Yahoo was basically a flavor of the month Jewish rapper. And
I won't disagree with you, but in 2006, at this time, Modest Yahoo was a big deal.
That's true. He was. I didn't really put a lot of thought into that, into this, time period of Modest Yahoo. I guess I just felt like to start it off like this, it's like okay.
No, I get what you're saying as far as it's the first track of your album. You want to come out swinging. You want to put your stamp on it.
Yeah.
And you got to get some help from your friends. So I see what you're saying there.
Okay. So one of the things, I really didn't put a lot of effort into POD before this album. I have listened to them very casually over the years, but really haven't put a lot of effort into them after Satellite. Mm-hmm. And so it's almost like listening to Sonny do his rap thing, all over again. It was like, oh, you're still doing the same thing. The fact that he mentions Ja Love in the first 3 lines is like, okay, we're still in 2000, guys. And, I get why they use Ja. I get that. I get every part of it, but it's like, you haven't evolved into 2024. What year did this come out again? I forget.
2006.
Yeah, you haven't moved past where you were to current. And I don't know. I thought this was a good one. I didn't think it was a good opener. I thought it was a fine opener, but same deal. Rap verses, heavy riffs, and the reggae style chorus. I feel like this kind of would have fit in with Southtown or Satellite.
Yeah, see, this to me makes sense as the opener because so to follow the trajectory of POD for a minute, fundamental elements of Southtown got them on the map. They had the song Southtown. They had the song, Rock the Party. They were starting to get a little bit of notoriety. But then when Satellite came out, they blew up and they were a huge rock band. And everybody knew who they were. They were massive. So then they had to follow that up with a brand new guitar player. And they went in a kind of awkward direction. It sort of sounded like POD, but it also did some really weird stuff. And it sounded like POD. And I actually almost brought that one instead of this one, but I think this is a better record because by this time, Truby, I think, started to feel more comfortable, and this feels more cohesive than Payable on Death. But here's the other thing. So they're trying to follow up this incredible Billboard top, platinum record with a new guitar player, and they just can't do it. And so now on this record, they try to kind of recapture a lot of what made Satellite popular.
That's fair. Yeah.
And I think that's what we're hearing in especially the first like 4 or 5, 6 songs, just like every other POD album. But what I also want to say is POD is very funny to me because they are one of the most, like, when you look at their lyrics, a lot of Christian bands, you sort of have to like decipher the Christianity out of it. POD's never been that way. They're usually pretty upfront about it. But then they'll also do stuff like the lyric at 127, which is, I love this part of the song where he says, liquor shot if you're a mighty warrior, liquor shot if you're a freedom fighter, liquor shot if you're a true soldier. Now dance your way back to Zion.
Liquor shot if you a mighty warrior. Liquor shot if you a freedom fighter. Liquor shot if you a true soldier. Now dance your way back to Zion.
Now, at the risk of cultural appropriation, I'm not going to do it in the voice Modest Yahoo and Sonny doing it. But I love that part of the song. And it's just so, I don't want to say refreshing, but it's nice to hear a Christian band say, yeah, put your drinks in the air. We're here to party. We're here having a good time. We're doing it for our Lord and Savior, but we're still going to have a good time. So I like that.
I will say this for POD. It seems like as they've gone on through their career, they've almost kind of gotten further away from the like social confines of what it is to be a Christian band. And it's like they're just Christians in a band doing their thing. And, and that's fine to me. I have no issue with that. In fact, that's actually what I'd prefer. So.
And and I'm not saying that they're overdoing it, but Payable on Death, the album from 2003, I think I saw a stat that said 85% of Christian bookstores across America would not carry it because of the album cover and the quote unquote occult symbolism that they were using.
Speaking of POD and Christian bookstores and album covers, I actually have both copies of Southtown, the Christian store cover, which is basically like the floating wooden guy, and it's all everything around's covered up, and then the secular music cover, which is not covered up at all, and it's got all the stuff. And
it is gorgeous. I love that album.
Oh yeah, I think it's cool.
It was one of those ones that you looked at it like 5 or 6 times, and you kept seeing new stuff because it's just so intricate.
And I remember I took it to somebody at church when that album came out. I was like, "Tell me what's wrong about this." I was like, "I don't understand," and they were like, "Nothing really. It's fine." I was like, "Okay, Christian bookstores won't carry this cover." So anyway. Track 2.
And so,
sorry.
and so I was just going to say the last thing was, so this album cover, it says Testify, and the T is a giant cross, and the first song, you know what I mean? Like
it's a very safe album cover.
It feels like a little bit of a overcorrection maybe, but so far I love this song. I'm into it.
All right. So track 2, Lights Out. Do you know why they wrote Lights Out?
Guerrilla Radio.
No. Sorry. So they wrote the song Lights Out solely for ESPN highlights. Like they wrote the song for ESPN. It was actually called ESPN when they were working on it. Like,
oh yeah.
And then they did use it to advertise Nissan that was around that time. But it was like, I don't know if ESPN ended up using this song. I can see this song being used for sports highlight reels, but I think it's funny that they ended up writing a song for this other thing, and they were like, we need to fill in more of the album. Let's just throw that in there.
Well, to me, this, again, they're trying to capture that lightning in a bottle they had with Satellite.
Oh, yeah.
To me, this feels like Boom. It feels like some people probably think it's a lesser version. Maybe it's just because I've heard Boom 700 million times.
Yeah.
And I've only heard this one about 15 times. I like this one a lot. So
No, this one's fine. And this one actually, I feel like would have been a better track one. Like, I feel like, you know, we're going to talk all about how their track listing is out of whack, but I feel like this would have been a better track one because this really brought almost the classic POD sound that we knew. It had the riffs. It had this subtle screaming in the background, and Sonny was really doing his rap thing on this one.
Yeah, this one really works for me pretty much from start to finish. I really like the bridge has this almost like Red Hot Chili Peppers kind of like funky thing going on. And then at 158, it kicks in real heavy. I love all of that. And it's tight and short, and it doesn't like that's something I didn't mention on Roots and Stereo. I love that song, but there's a chunk of about 20 or 30 seconds at the end of that song where it's just like a little bit of guitar and Modest Yahooing all over the end of it, and it just doesn't need to be there. Like, end on a high note, cut it. It's almost a 5-minute long song. It does not need to be that long. So this one, yeah, I agree. Lights Out. Just classic POD. It's a banger. I like this one a lot.
All right. So track one was 4 minutes, 42 seconds. This one is 2 minutes, 47 seconds. And actually, the thing that I actually feel like hurt this song was I'm good, like up through the bridge. I feel like the bridge was actually like a great pace change within the song. Yeah. But then it was like it came out of the bridge, and I feel like we kind of went back into what we were doing before, didn't introduce anything new, and kind of just repeated the same sound that we already had. I feel like they could have brought it up after the bridge and then brought it down quickly after. Yes, 247 is a quick song. Don't have a problem with that. But actually, one of my biggest criticisms on this album is the ending of a lot of the songs. I feel like the ends of songs really suffered on this album.
It almost sounds like to me, they were like, okay, we want to capture the fire that was Satellite, so we need to be a little bit more straightforward. But we can't help ourselves, and we got to have these little interludes and outros and stuff. But we're not going to make them separate tracks. We're just gonna flow from one song to another and do all this kind of stuff. And so you end up with songs that are a little too long. They feel like they don't know how to end, that kind of thing. I would have almost preferred them to do the Fundamental Elements of Southtown thing and just have you want to skip the 30-second mic check rap, free verse, whatever. Yeah, sure. Like, it's not a song. Skip it. Yeah. Like, yeah, I agree.
All right. So track 3, If You Could See Me Now.
For me to feel, or am I going out of my mind? What is real? Stay by my side so I can live.
Why at track 3 do we have to bring the energy down so much? I don't have a problem with Sonny. Sonny is not a singing vocalist. I don't have a problem with Sonny when he tries to like sing out like a certain note or carry out like a certain word, things like that. But one of my biggest issues with Satellite was the problem that's all over the song, which is I don't like it when Sonny tries to sing. Period. I carry out a word, fine. This, nah, I'm good.
So this is another one that I really like, but here's what I'll say. This is one of a couple songs on this album that the verse sounds like one song and the chorus sounds like another.
Oh, yeah.
I love the verses on this song. If you take out the vocal and just listen to the music, it's even got a little bit of like mid 2000s 311 to it, where it's like you've got the groove, but then there's these real big, warm, like jazzy chords that like just shine over top of it. Sonny's voice it's not great, but it's like laid back enough that it feels okay. I am 100% in when the song starts and the verses go, but then the chorus is like dour and it just doesn't fit the same. Like, I agree with what you're saying coming out of Lights Out and Roots and Stereo, these like heavy, bouncy, rappy rock songs. into something that's a little more melodic. But if that chorus would have gone up instead of down, I feel like it would have maintained like the energy we were in.
Yeah, that's another thing about this album. I feel like on those songs that are, where I said before, there's a lot of strong moments on this album. I feel like it's either in the chorus or the verses. It's never, or very rarely, it's both. But on this one,
I agree.
On this one, musically, this track is great. But I feel like Sonny really hurt this one. And the thing about the verse to chorus deal, by the time we get to the chorus, I'm kind of just over the way that Sonny is doing this one. You know, musically, again, I'll go with it. I don't like the way he does it.
Again, I think the verses on this song are great. I don't like the chorus. I like the bridge. It's got this cool little walk down thing. Yeah. It almost has like, it's the new metal equivalent to Dear Prudence by the Beatles.
I never thought of that at all, but
I'm right. I am correct. Yeah, I don't know. This one's okay, but this is a good example of you've got energy, but it's a little more mellow. This might be something you could stick a little bit later in the album. And I really feel like if you shifted the tracks around, it would make for a better album.
Yeah. So I completely feel like shifting this one further down the album. I actually feel like track 5 is a great swap for it.
I was thinking that one too. Yep.
So, I mean, we'll get to track 5 in a minute, but for now, let's talk about track 4, Goodbye for Now.
Know so well, either time don't, it can't, or it just won't tell. I'm not the type to say I told you so. I think the hardest part of holding on is letting it go. I don't know what time it is, or who's the one to blame for this. Do I believe what I
now,
can see?
This is Testify's Youth of the Nation.
Yes.
This is what they were trying to capture, which was also track 4 on Satellite.
Okay, I didn't realize it was track 4, but yeah, no, this was, as soon as this one started, the first time I listened to this album, I was like, they got to put the emotional rap song in somewhere, and, you know, it's the Youth of the Nation. Now, I do want to stop you, because this video was #1 video on TRL.
Yeah.
And I watched the video.
Well, good for you.
You always talk about how I don't watch videos, and I watched this video.
So if you watch the video, I'm sure you know the bombshell that I'm about to drop about the guest feature on this song.
Oh, you mean the guest vocalist that really only has like 3 lines at the very end of the song?
So, yes, we are indeed referring to Katy Perry, who, it's funny that technically this would have been her first #1 video on TRL, which I guess she was a little bit after the TRL boom, but... Well,
her first album came out in 2001, which was under the name Katie Hudson, which is her real name, which was actually a contemporary Christian album.
Right, I was going to say, I'm not including that.
Well, I'm throwing this in. So then in 2008, this album came out in 2006. So this was before her big blow up, which the album that came out in 2008 was One of the Boys, which had Kissed a Girl on it, and then she blew up from there. So
banger. They're her first 2 albums, that one and California Girls, the second one. Both of those, I think second album's called California Girls.
No, okay, so after One of the Boys came Teenage Dream.
Teenage Dream.
Yeah, that's California Girls. California Girls is not the name of whatever else.
No, but that is one of the songs. That's track 1 or 2 on Teenage Dream. Doesn't matter.
I can't say I've ever listened to that album.
Oh, dude. Both her first 2 albums are both awesome. They are very, very cool. But anyway, yes, you are correct. Katy Perry started off as a Christian like she was going to be a contemporary Christian artist. It didn't pan out, so she started making out with chicks, and that was apparently what she needed to get on the radio.
Yeah. Katie Hudson.
I say all that to say, this song's fine. It's not that good.
Yeah, it's fine. You know, for anybody that hasn't seen the video, imagine the standard band plays in warehouse to a random group of people, and then at some point they go outside and they're playing to them outside.
And for some reason, Katy Perry is there dressed in like a military outfit.
Yeah.
For her 3 lessons.
the song's fine. It's basically Youth of the Nation redone. Yeah.
It feels the one thing I will give it credit for is I like that it feels like it just builds and builds and gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then, we're kind of talking, being a little silly about the whole Katy Perry section, but that last part with the big female vocal, like that does sell it a little bit more.
It does. It does. You're right. And the only thing about the female vocal in it is I kind of wish that we had more of her in it, because I do like Katy Perry's voice, or at this point, Katie Hudson's voice. But
I'm saying Katie Hudson. I just keep thinking about Kate Hudson, the actress.
Maybe that's why she dropped it. I don't know. Anyway, I do wish she was in it more, just because I do like what she brought to it.
She could have been in there doing like Modest Yahoo and throwing in some "Hey, Tataman" like on the top there.
Track 5, Sounds Like War.
Sounds like it's more to me. Peace, love, and casualties. Sounds like it's more to me. Yeah. Close your eyes so you can see. Peace, love, and harmony. Sounds like.
So I agree with you. You mentioned switching 3 and 5. I think that would have been cool. Sounds Like War, simple, bouncy, heavy. Again, we're sort of in that weird stage. I like the verses more than the chorus, but the chorus is not as bad as track 3, if you can see me now.
No, I do like parts of this song better than other parts of this song. I don't love this one completely, but
yeah,
the song on the album before this, Wildfire, track 1.
I want to feel that wildfire. Irregular burning.
Yes, that's a wild song.
Right. But this is basically that same song. If you go back and listen to it, and it's like I listened to this and I was like, I feel like I've heard this before. And so then I kind of just went back through their stuff and I found that real quick. Yeah, it's basically the same song. It just has some, more political lyrics, talk about
Wildfire.
Yeah.
Wildfire has that weird, like, herky-jerky verses where this one's a lot more straightforward.
Well, it's like it's in the verse. It's in the chorus. It sounds the same.
In the choruses? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Now, what I will say is we have a guitar solo here, but it's not great. Like,
it's fine. It's serviceable.
I was really... Yeah, and I was just hoping for a little bit more because I do love Truby so much.
Yeah.
But what I will say is at about 1:53, you've got that cool piano with the delay on it. I like that a lot. And then I know we've been talking about these like long-winded outros and weird interludes and stuff. I love the ending of this song.
Okay.
That little jam and it's kind of moody and funky. I love that.
I'm with you because I actually really liked it as well because I know the piano that you're talking about that starts in and then it's almost like at 2:43 it changes into this like weird atmospheric jam thing that doesn't hurt this one at all. In fact, I think it's the best part of this entire song.
I tend to agree with you. There's Truby's doing some kind of interesting little licks during that part.
Yeah.
Wov's got a cool. Speaking of which, Trey, the bass player, and Wov, the drummer, both are extremely talented. And I think Trey is kind of, I don't want to say underrated.
I do, but I think he is.
Yeah, if you listen, sometimes the bass isn't as prominent as I feel like it probably could be. I will say this is a great record for headphones. There's a lot of stuff, little things in the mix that you'll miss. But Trey's bass lines are very tasty, and they make a great rhythm section.
Oh, yeah, definitely. All right, so track 6, On the Grind, featuring Sick Jackson, and Booyah Tribe.
I'm death, homegrown out the west. My worst been lethal from the grill, leaving you holding your breath. So who on next and who gon' test? Come get this lyrical beating. I'm out the frame like graffiti. It's so misleading, but I'll make it look easy. And everybody out the box trying to cop my steezy.
So it's actually not Jackson.
Or it's Jakin. Sorry.
Well, it's
Jackin?
It's Jackin. It's Sick Jackin.
Right.
I don't love that name.
I don't either. I don't love this song either at all.
No.
This sounds like a big disjointed rap song that makes no sense, and the chorus of this one sounds like the tape slowed down on playback and they said screw it, just leave it.
Ever since the day the streets be calling, do what it takes to keep from falling. All I know is how to.
So I didn't get a chance to look up Booyah Tribe before we recorded, but doing a little bit of research, it would
half their members died, so
yes, I saw that.
Yeah.
But from what I saw, they were a little bit like the Roots. They actually played instruments, and I was interested to listen to them. I have a feeling I would probably enjoy it. Now, the thing is just like we talked about with the liquor shots in the first song, there's some lyrics in this song that are like,
if
guys,
you ever touch my sister, I'll get you.
Don't ride, we gangsta pimpin', but we head to. You ever touch my sister, got you.
I've picked on the way that people have pronounced things in previous albums. I'm going to pick on this one.
I was going to say the part where he talks about busting a hymen in somebody's ear. Like, I didn't
catch that one.
Stay off stereo rhyming, convicted of driving to beat the hymen and breaking the hymen on ears that never heard of the lineman.
It's in the very first verse. He's talking about like busting the hymen on the ear, like, because you've never heard rhymes this fierce, I guess.
I don't know. This one I listened through all the way through it once.
Man,
I genuinely don't like this song, and I don't know why, with everything else this album is, why this song was something they called complete and put it on here.
Okay, so again, I'm going to pick on my boy Truby a little bit. The verses have this like Korn B-side vibe with these like really high-pitched guitars. The thing is Korn kind of got away with that high-pitched guitar stuff because the production, whoever they had mixing and producing understood what Korn was doing with those guitars. Some of the high-pitched guitar stuff that they try to pull off on this record is ear-piercing.
Yeah.
And this one's not as bad. And if you listen through headphones, you'll hear there's like 4 different guitar tracks going on. And none of them are particularly good. Like,
okay, so you said before, and I agreed with you, that this is a great headphones album because there are little things happening that you will miss. But if you listen to this album through headphones, don't listen to this track through headphones.
Yeah, that high pitched guitar is not great. The one redeeming factor, the one thing I do enjoy is if there is a female vocal in the mix again. It's not Katy Perry.
Ever since the day the streets be calling.
It adds a little bit of soul to it. It adds a little bit of character.
Yeah.
It's not enough to save it. No. And this is not a good one for me.
Yeah, no, I skipped this one. Skip track 6. It should have never made the cut, honestly. I don't know how. Track placement is just hurt by bad songs.
Yeah.
Track 7, this time.
Done this all before, and nothing ever changes. Waiting gets harder every time. I don't know how to stay still.
All right. When track 7 started, it felt very much like a 90s post-grunge song. Like, even after, like, the distortion stuff kicked in, like, it sounded like it up until he started singing. And then when he started singing, it just kind of had this, he was back to like the reggae vocals again. And that ruined the rest of it. So I like this track up until he starts singing.
And is this where we need to be?
cannot tell you what the rest of it sounds like because every time it was like, I don't like it. I'm not having fun here, guys.
I like the bass line. The bass sounds good on this one. Again, we've got this like verse and chorus that don't mesh super well. There is a little bit of a guitar solo on this one, but again, there's just so much stuff going on that you can't really hear it and appreciate it. I don't know. It does go out with a little bit of a funky jam session, kind of like Sounds Like War. Not quite as fun, but it's still okay. Yeah, so here we go. With the first 5-6 songs, first 4 or 5 songs, we're having a decent time. And now we're hitting that weird spot where like it's just not working,
Yep. So, all right, let's move on. Track 8, Mistakes and Glories.
Quoted, crucifixing truth and shoving down your throats. I'm on the wrong path, walking a tightrope. If you don't stand for something, if you don't stand for nothing,
Okay. Yes, I do.
Okay.
And if he would have been there, they might have been able to salvage this.
Yeah. So this
do you have the story behind that?
No, I was actually going to ask you what the story is. I know that there was a scheduling conflict. That's all I could come across.
Okay. So basically, for those of you that don't know, Mistakes and Glories was supposed to feature Jonathan Davis of Korn. And if you listen to the song, it's clear why they wanted Jonathan Davis to sing on this song, because it, again, kind of sounds like a Korn B-side. A little bit better, but it still just almost feels like they're trying to sound like Korn.
Yeah.
If they would have had Jonathan Davis there, they probably would have pulled it off a little bit better. I don't know if that's Sonny singing the Jonathan Davis.
No, it's Truby. It's Truby.
That's Truby. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. I like this one. Okay. But I don't love it. But you can definitely tell where Jonathan Davis would have been. Yeah. As far as the story goes, that's all I've heard too. I get the impression that they asked Jonathan Davis to do a song. He said, sure. They wrote this song. And by the time they had it recorded and were ready for him to do vocals, he was in the studio or he was on tour. It's also possible they sent him the song and he said, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, that's possible. And then the story that got out to all of us is scheduling conflicts. So
yeah, that's a nice way to put it.
Okay, I don't hate this song. It's very clear that Jonathan Davis would have been better put in there. The sweep the leg that happens so much in this song kills it for me. It is overkill. But I like it better than the ones that we got before this. And that made me like it a little bit more because I felt like we were getting a little bit more back to that POD sound that we want.
Yeah. I don't love the sweep the leg, but I like the lines about, if you don't stand for something, you won't stand for anything or something like that. It's not the traditional you'll fall for anything. Like they switched it up a little bit and I appreciated that. Yeah. And then the Mistakes and Glories, the way they're screaming it, like again, had you had Jonathan Davis's raw kind of emotional screaming in there, I think this song would have hit a lot harder. As it is, it's better than the past 2 songs we had to sit through, but it's still not on par with the first 4.
Right. So track 9, Let You Down.
Everyone keeps looking at me. I'm tired of faking my life.
It kind of does.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to identify with this song in a way that you have that you did on the last episode that we did. So I didn't necessarily love this song, but I could tell from the subject matter of the song, from the lyrics of the song, and so I did go look it up. And this song is about two close friends of theirs, of the band's, that attempted suicide. One of them was successful. And just the, what the lyrics are saying, and with that being something that I've struggled with recently, it connected for me. Did I love the song? No. But I felt connected to it. Let's put it that way.
Cool. Yeah, I didn't catch really much of the words on this one. My musician brain got so focused in on those like obnoxious high pitched guitar notes that I was just sort of, it really took me out of it. There's also this weird like bubbling sound under the chorus. I don't understand what that's all about.
Yeah, I actually was listening to that and trying to find a way that I could pull the clip to put into this episode, and I just couldn't find a way to do it. And it's because it's not clear enough on top of the mix and all that. So
no, it's a headphone thing, but once you hear it, it's hard not to hear it.
Yeah,
and then I do like the guitar solo around 208. I'm glad that these back couple songs that we've just went through have guitar solos.
Yeah.
Not a typical nu metal thing. Marcos did some solos. He
wasn't a solo type, guitar player, but he could do solos.
I always kind of thought of him as like the nu metal Santana. Like,
fair. He's
got a little bit of this like Latin flavor to these guitar solos. They're not super technical, but they're super tasty and really have that lyrical thing that I like.
I know he did more solos live than.
Yeah, they jammed a little bit live.
Yeah.
And Truby is, you think of like how technical Living Sacrifice was with their weird counts and stuff. He's not a shredder, though. He's more of a riffer. So, again, like this feels like Truby trying to fit in, but it sounds good. I like it.
Yeah, I don't have a big issue with this. I feel like this was better than. I kind of feel like the songs are kind of stepping in a way, and it's like, the songs, Mistakes Glorious wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great.
Yeah,
Let You Down isn't terrible, but it isn't great. It's like they're okay. They're better than the weakest parts of this album.
Yeah.
Which I feel like for the most part, we are past the weakest parts of this album, and we're actually getting into some of what I feel like are the stronger tracks on this album, with exceptions. And I'll talk about those for sure. So track 10, Teachers. By the time the Teachers started, I was ready to give up. I was ready to be done.
Especially with the way Teachers starts.
Yeah.
With that empty vocal.
Imperial, righteous respect, 'cause we ain't done yet.
But Sonny so politely tells us that he's not done yet. And that let me know that there was going to be more to listen to.
Yeah.
And I actually felt like this is one of the places where Truby was really, for the first time on this album, really showing what he can do. And he's showing that he's not just a fill-in. I feel like this may be one of Truby's strongest points on this album.
I don't know that I would go that far, but what I will say is I like the vibe of this one because I've talked about this on previous albums. I like when you start getting into your last 2 or 3 songs and you're still throwing a little bit of new stuff at us.
Mm-hmm.
It gets kind of boring when after the first 3 or 4 songs, you've heard it all. So I like that this song has a little different rhythm to it. It almost, to me, teeters on like emo screamo with the way it kind of sways back and forth.
Maybe that's why I like this one better.
Yeah, I actually said it kind of gave me sort of like a happier Deftones sound.
Okay.
Like if you dropped this an octave and had Chino's voice on top of it, this would feel like a middle of the road Deftones song. in my opinion.
Okay. I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you on that. I do feel like the rhythm on this one is fun. I feel like Love is killing it on the drums. You know, there's certain places where he is just knocked out of the park. So I feel like this one actually is a great step up from Let You Down, which did let us down. But, you know, and then teachers taught us they weren't done yet.
Oh, God. God, move on, please.
All right. Track 11, Strength of My Life, again featuring Modest Yahoo.
Take away the scales from my eyes, anoint your love upon my life. Have mercy on my soul and hear me when I cry. Abandon me and don't forsake me. Lead me on the path of integrity.
Okay. I know what you were saying earlier. So let me read my first sentence here on my notes for this song. A lot of new metal bands try to go full reggae from time to time. And the only two that I can think of that really pull it off are Head PE and POD. I think this sounds pretty good, and I feel like having Modest Yahoo back on the vocals just adds a little bit more legitimacy to the vibes.
I have one word. Well, actually, I've got more than just one word written in my notes, but I've got like one word as like part of my notes. It's nope. Nope. Don't want it.
I'm not saying I want it, but I got it. So I have to deal with it now. And I'm funny when it comes to reggae because 311's my favorite band. They are notorious white boy reggae guys. And the thing I've always liked about 311.
Okay, I'm going to stop you. They're not, I'm not going to sit here and agree with their notorious white reggae guys because their bass player is not a white guy. And I feel like the rest of them are Hispanic.
No, I'm talking about 311.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. That was my mistake entirely.
No, you're fine. But like, so I like reggae, but I like it when it's a piece of the puzzle.
Right.
Like 311 is one of those bands that will have a reggae verse that kicks into a rocked up chorus, and then they'll have like this jazzy, funky breakdown. So when you have this kind of song where it's just the straight reggae beat from start to finish, there's not a big difference between the verses and the choruses. It kind of drags on.
Yeah.
I like it. This to me felt like it could have been a minute and a half jam.
Yep, absolutely.
Sonny and Modest Yahoo go back and forth for like a verse or two, maybe get to the hook and just call it. Like, this doesn't feel like it needed to be as long as it is. And my God, I like Modest Yahoo. I saw him open for 311. He's good. But whatever that crap is at the end of this song, Jesus, no.
See, if they had cut out that entire part, this song would not have been 3 minutes and 37 seconds like it is. It doesn't need to be. So, okay, I'm with you. I like it when reggae is part of the equation. I don't like it when it's the full thing. And actually, when you make the full thing, it's not part of the equation. It is the problem. And, you know, I would have no problem with having an actual little interlude on here and having them just have a little reggae moment and share the spotlight for a minute. I have no problem with that at all.
Yeah.
So, all right, track 12, Say Hello.
We're too busy smiling and get in my face. That's not the way to understand it. And ignorance is blind. So this time I'm gonna let it ride.
I feel like this is a completely different song than the rest of this album. I really like this song.
Yeah. I don't think it's the heaviest thing in the world, but after coming out of just a full-on reggae jam for 3.5 minutes, this feels heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's got this sort of, especially around like 140, it just sounds like a straight up rock and roll song. I love the riff and kind of the jerky beat going on. I just wish they would have rocked on that a little bit longer. But as it is, this is a cool, like, rock song.
Well, see, I feel like this was where Truby really got to stretch his legs for really the first time on this entire album. Like, he's shown us in places that he's doing the job of filling in. He showed us at one point that he's not just a fill-in. I feel like this is where he went, guys, I am here, and this is my thing. The sad part is it's the shortest track at 2 minutes, 32 seconds, but I feel like this is the best track on the album.
The other thing is, too, he does have a solo here.
He does at 149.
And it's wrong. That's wrong. That's not the kind of solo this song needs.
See, I felt like it was a fun solo. I don't think it was a great solo for this, but I felt like it was a fun solo. But
at this point, dude, you need some bends and you need some squeals.
Yeah.
Like, this is a rock and roll song. Like,
no, it needs to be a bigger solo. But this sounds like they're trying for more of the sound that was within the Brown Snuff the Punk era of things.
Yes, agreed.
And personally, I would have loved it if they had kind of stayed this direction, and kind of gone this way more.
I get like the high energy and the aggressiveness and why that's so fun, but clearly this is not mainstream. So I get why they slowed it down and started to groove more to basically broaden their audience. But I agree that having flashes of this late into your career is awesome. Mm-hmm. I wish there was more of this. Yes. I wish there was just one more song that has a similar vibe to this that could have been track 3, 4, 5, 6, like somewhere in that front half. And then you got one more back here.
But we're not going to get one more song of this, which I feel like this would have been a great closer for this album. Like, go out on this high energy rock and note. No problem with that at all.
Me and Mrs. Monster were talking about this album too, and we would have flipped these last two songs.
Track 13, Mark My Words, featuring, again, Sick Jackin'.
Solar trains, fire rush through your veins, gonna bring the pain. You can see it's going down. Front line, nobody left behind. Rebel soul, let them know when it's time. You better hold your ground.
From the Booyah Tribe.
I just don't like saying it.
I don't either. That's why I said the Booyah Tribe part.
Yeah. So, not a terrible closer by any means. I didn't absolutely love this song, but I didn't hate this song by any means. I thought this was a good song. I could have done without the melodic Mark My Words in the chorus.
Okay, so it's funny you should say that. I like the opening riff. Originally, I said Rage Against the Machine, but it actually reminded me more of like an Audio Slave riff. To me, there is obviously Audio Slave, Rage, same band, different singer, but I also think they were tailoring their riffs and music a little bit more for Chris Cornell. And this feels like that sort of slowed down, a little less funky Audio Slave instead of Rage. I don't love the verse. However, if you listen to the verses, there's the first half is kind of stripped down, but the second half of the verses, again, real good in headphones. There's this like thing on the guitar in the background that is dope. I love that. Yeah. And kind of wish that would have been a little bit louder, but I could see that being distracting with the vocals. I kind of dig the sung version of Mark My Words because it at least adds a little bit of flavor to a otherwise kind of bland chorus.
Okay, so maybe the sung part of Mark My Words didn't need to happen as much as it did. Like, I wouldn't actually have a problem with having a female vocal on that part instead of all Sick Jackin',
Yeah, if Katie, too bad Katie wasn't around.
Yeah, Katie Hudson. Okay, I do like where this one got weird at 2:03. I do like that. And the thing about it is, okay, so I would have been great with if we took Strength of My Life with Modest Yahoo and like we talked about, shorten it down to this little interlude thing. Through this, before the song before this, make this track 12, so it's thrown in before Say Hello. Mm-hmm. And, if that little, part where it got weird, because it got weird at 2:03. This song is 3 minutes 43 seconds. So it's over a minute of just weird sounds and stuff, and I'm cool with it. If they just made that like a little interlude thing before the final track, I would have had no problem with that at all. But outside of that, I liked it. I mean, I still liked the weird part.
I like the weird part, and I like the riff. I appreciate the fact that they went back to the riff at the end of the song.
Right.
The problem is, and Truby, God help me, what is this? Well, what is this quote unquote solo noise thing happening here? It's like, I just cannot believe they had this strong of a song. Truby starts doing whatever the hell this is, and nobody said, can we take a second take? Could we try a little something different there? It sounds awful to me.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds so bad that I feel like it's a deliberate choice. But why? Why would you do that?
Why would Big Dumb Face put out a full album?
Because that's the whole thing, is to be obnoxious. This is a really solid rap rock song with just this obnoxious crap at the end. I don't know why they did it. I like this whole song, except for the last, I don't know how long it goes on. I've tried to block it out of my memory.
All right, so it's not a terrible closer, but it's not the closer that this album should have had.
It's not a terrible closer, but the closing of the closer sucks.
I don't know. I like where it gets weird, but it's not something that I really sat all the way through multiple times. You know,
it's not easy.
I let it get weird and then just moved on. So
maybe as a guitar player, I'm just hearing things that, like, again, just like I said in Say Hello, like I heard a rock and roll guitar solo, not the little thing that he did.
Yeah.
At the end of Mark My Words, I hear, it's one of those things where you're like, hey man, play what you feel. Just, if that's how you feel, take a nap and come back, because you obviously don't feel well enough to play an appropriate solo here.
All right, Monster, what's new with you?
Hey, good looking. Cooking.
So I would say tracks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, and 13.
The album.
Skip Strength of My Life and then everything else.
Fair.
I mean, this is pretty... At this stage, 2006, a lot of nu metal bands are starting to shift a little bit away from just straight up rap rock, jumping up and down bangers. And you're starting to get into a little bit more, adding a little more post grunge, adding a little bit more melody. So there are some elements of like butt rock and hard rock mixed in, but ultimately this is just a nu metal rap rock album from start to finish. It's all pretty new.
Except for, Strength of My Life and what was the Booyah Tribe one, On the Grind.
Well, technically that is still kind of a rap rock song. It's just not a very good one. So
Fair.
Danger, what's cooking?
Say Hello. I think Say Hello was my favorite on this album. I genuinely like that song.
Good song. I'm not going to argue with that. I like that one too.
All right, you want to give me a closing statement?
Sure. Okay. If you only know POD from their hits on the radio, you may assume they are a pretty run-of-the-mill, straightforward rap rock nu metal band. While some of that is true, and that is a huge part of their sound, they are a little more eclectic and experimental than that. I feel like this album is a solid mix of those straight-up rap rock anthems and the more experimental ideas. Full-on reggae jams with a Hasidic Jew on vocals is not the most common flex for a nu metal band, much less one as blatantly Christian as POD. Testify might not reach the heights of catchiness that Satellite did or get quite as experimental as The Awakening, but I feel like this album has some bangers as well as some ballads and is a good mix of everything that makes POD interesting. And Jason Truby's guitar work does give POD a little different flavor on his 2 albums with the band. Probably not POD's best work, but easily on the better half side of things. 1 to 10, I gave it a 6.27.
6.27 from Monster. All right. This feels like a valiant effort in a greatest hits entry. I need Sonny to stop thinking that he's Zach De La Rocha with all of the revolutionary tone, with all of the Jaws and the Warriors. This, it's clear this one is, excuse me, let me start the whole thing over because I read it with the wrong cadence.
Okay.
All right.
We're going to get you some reading lessons. This happens every time.
This feels like a valiant effort in a greatest hits entry. I need Sonny to stop thinking that he's Zach De La Rocha with all of the revolutionary tone with the Jaws and the Warriors. It's clear, though, that this one is for the Warriors. This is a slight step up from their previous album, but this is pretty much the album where I said I was done with POD as a fan. Maybe it was my changing music taste or the fact that they failed to reach the goodness of Satellite, and that is what this one feels like it's trying to copy. The best moments are when they're utilizing the thrash metal tool that was freed after this album. I gave this album a 5.89.
Pretty close on this one.
Yeah. I got to be honest with you. I had it down at a 4.5.
You know, earlier today, I did one more listen today and tweaked my notes a little. I was under 6 earlier today. And then after my listen today, I was thinking about the songs I like, and I like more than I dislike. And even on the songs I don't like, there's usually something there that I can enjoy. So I bumped it up, gave it over a 6.
Yeah, and where I bumped my score up, it goes back to what I said in the beginning about not every song, but there's a lot of really strong points on this album.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that puts POD in the 34th position, right below The Killers and right above Weird Al at a 6.08. If you disagree with the score that we have given this album, then please shoot us an email at breakdownsbreakfast@gmail.com. Head on over to the Facebook page for Breakdowns for Breakfast. Leave us a comment there. Let us know what you'd like for us to hear. Let us know what you'd like to hear us talk about.
Danger.
Yes, Monster.
How do you make a pancake smile?
How?
You butter it up.
Hey, this is Anthony from This Wildlife, and you're listening to Breakdowns. Fuck.